The title of the exhibition is Transience, and it seemed like an appropriate title for what we're trying to get across in the exhibition. I've been drawing ordinary objects since the late 70s, and without really meaning to, it turns out I've done is I've recorded the transition from analog objects to the digital technology which now engulfs us. When I first started to draw things, I always drew one image at a time, one object at a time, completely without an environment. I never drew anything set it in a place. I just drew the object, a table, a shoe, a light bulb, a book. And then from the beginning I started to assemble drawings together in order to make more complex images. So in something like the wall drawing, which is behind me, this is the earliest work in the exhibition from the early 80s. It's a constructed image made out of drawings. I'm using drawings to make a drawing. I think the drawing underlies everything about visual art. And for me, it's always held a central position. And I've never changed the way I draw. You can't tell in this exhibition which drawing I did in 1978 and which I did in 2014. My method of drawing has stayed absolutely the same. I just record things. I have the painting of the iPhone, and it's really the first painting that you see when you come in the door. And the iPhone sums up everything, doesn't it? Because it's the most iconic of all the new objects, and it's the one that's replaced all the analog objects, and it's constantly accruing things. And the fact that all of these complex other objects that used to have a very specific form, that they had a very particular shape, they were sized, they were sometimes awkward, or you had to go to find them. Now you carry it around with you. You have it in this very bland object. It's probably the most bland of all the objects, and yet it's the one that's the richest. When I'm painting an object, what I basically choose is the color that's going to dominate the object, which is the color of the largest area. As soon as you choose that color, the other colors, your choice about what they might be becomes more limited. In all of the paintings, I never just arbitrarily paint one part of a thing, one color, another thing, another thing. It's usually the difference between one material and another material, between the lid and the base, between the inside and the outside, between the part that's made out of metal and the part that's made out of wood. In a certain sense, the color is helping to articulate the drawing. In the exhibition, the flashlight appears twice. One is a single painting and one in the large painting, Eye of a Storm. And it's one of the only objects that's white in the exhibition. I don't use white very often, and yet I've never been able to paint the flashlight any color but white. And I can't tell you why. It just looks wrong to me as soon as I see it in another color. So there are certain objects where a color seems to attach itself to the object. I always think that in an exhibition, the exhibition should engage with the architecture of the space. And the thing that's most striking about this, the Serpentine, about this pavilion gallery, is that it's unbelievably symmetrical. It is truly a symmetrical space. And so I've sought to emphasize that. You will notice things about the architecture that you would not normally notice. And then there's the wall drawings, because the wall drawings are done directly on the wall. The work is then not to have something brought in and hung on the walls, but something where the walls themselves have become engaged in the work itself. I like the idea that the painting is the object, that I'm trying to make an identification between a single object and a single painting, and there is nothing else. One is in the place of the other. When I do a painting of the laptop or of a trainer, the thing that's so interesting about images is that the object is not present. There is no iPhone, there is no trainer. It's only in the image, and that's what really interests me.